So let me talk to you. I'm talking with Charles Ramsey. He's a neighbor. Walk me through again what happened this afternoon. You heard screaming.
Heard screaming. I'm eating my McDonald's. I come outside. I see this girl going nuts trying to get out of her house. And she says, call 911. My name is Amanda Berry. So he's somebody that you look away because he's not doing nothing but the average stuff. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing exciting about him. Well, until the day.
It is a hard pill to swallow that you can live mere inches away from someone and never truly know them. In the tightly knit, working class neighborhoods of Cleveland, Ohio, porches are built close to the sidewalk. People know their neighbors. They wave across the street. They recognize the sound of each other's cars pulling into the driveway. But behind the drawn blinds and locked doors of a house on Seymour Avenue, a suffocating silence was taking hold. It was a silence that would swallow 3 young women whole, erasing them from the streets they knew, while the world carried on just outside their window. This is not just a story of abduction. It is a story of a monster wearing the mask of an ordinary man. And it is the story of 3 women who refused to let the darkness win. To the outside world, Ariel Castro was completely unremarkable. Born in Puerto Rico in 1960, his family moved to the mainland United States when he was a child. To the people on Seymour Avenue, he was a fixture. He played bass guitar in local salsa bands. He rode a motorcycle. He drove a school bus for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. He was the kind of neighbor who would offer you a plate of barbecue or give a neighborhood kid a ride home. But behind closed doors, a different Ariel Castro existed. His history was scarred by domestic violence. His ex-wife suffered horrific abuse at his hands. He was a man who craved total, absolute control. When his family finally fled his terrifying grasp in the late 90s, Castro was left alone in the 2-story house at 2207 Seymour Avenue. Alone, angry, and nursing a dark, festering sickness. The empty rooms of his house became a blank canvas for his darkest compulsions. He wasn't just looking for company, he was looking for captives. It began in the late summer of 2002, August 23rd. Michelle Knight was just 21 years old. She was small in stature, standing barely 4'7" and navigating a life filled with hardship. She was walking to a family court appointment, fighting for custody of her young son. She needed a ride, and she made the fatal mistake of accepting one from a man she vaguely recognized, Ariel Castro. Castro lured her into his house with the promise of giving her a puppy for her child. Once the front door closed, the trap snapped shut. Michelle was taken to the basement, bound, and told she would never leave. Because Michelle was an adult with a troubled background, the police and the public quickly wrote her off as a runaway. The search for her was agonizingly brief. But inside 2207 Seymour Avenue, Michelle Knight was fighting to survive a living nightmare. 8 months passed. The calendar turned to April 21st, 2003. Amanda Berry was 16 years old, a bright, beloved teenager working at a Burger King just blocks from her home. It was the day before her 17th birthday. As she walked home from her shift, Ariel Castro pulled up beside her. He offered her a ride. He seemed safe. He was a neighbor. He was a school bus driver. Amanda stepped into the vehicle. She never made it home. Unlike Michelle, Amanda's disappearance sparked a media firestorm. Vigils were held. Her face was broadcast across the evening news. Her mother, Luana Miller, searched tirelessly, pouring her soul into finding her daughter. But Amanda was already gone, locked away in the very neighborhood where her family was searching. For a year, the city remained on edge. Then, on April 2nd, 2004, the predator struck again. Gina DeJesus was just 14 years old. She was walking home from middle school. She was best friends with Ariel Castro's own daughter. Castro approached her, offering her a ride, using his daughter's name to build trust. When Gina got into the car, the doors locked. 3 girls, 3 distinct lives, all vanished into the exact same void. What happened inside that house over the next decade is almost too harrowing to comprehend. The women were kept in separate rooms, chained to walls or heavy pieces of furniture. Windows were boarded up. doors were secured with heavy padlocks and external alarms. They were starved, beaten, and subjected to relentless, unimaginable abuse. They lived in the shadows. Sometimes, they could hear the sounds of the neighborhood outside, the ice cream truck in the summer, children laughing, police sirens wailing past. They were surrounded by life, yet buried alive. In 2006, the nightmare deepened. Amanda Berry became pregnant by Castro. On Christmas Day, inside a small plastic waiting pool in a locked bedroom, she gave birth. Michelle Knight, who had endured horrific abuse and forced miscarriages herself, was forced by Castro to deliver the baby. He threatened to end Michelle's life if the baby didn't make it. Through sheer willpower, Michelle saved the infant's life when it stopped breathing. In the face of unspeakable cruelty, the women forged an unbreakable bond. They became a family in the dark. They protected each other. They taught Amanda's daughter how to read. They preserved their minds, waiting for a mistake, waiting for a crack in Castro's armor. But while they fought to survive, the outside world was failing them. Police visited the house on Seymour Avenue at least twice over those 10 years. Once, neighbors reported hearing pounding on the doors. Another time, neighbors reported seeing a naked woman crawling in the backyard on a leash. Police knocked, received no answer, and left. The system missed the warning signs, and the years continued to bleed away. May 6, 2013, Ariel Castro made a mistake. He left the house to get food, and in his arrogance, he failed to lock the heavy inner door that secured Amanda Berry. Amanda realized she had a clear path to the front of the house, but the outer storm door was locked. She began to scream. She battered the door, thrusting her arm through a small gap, desperately calling for help. Across the street, a neighbor named Charles Ramsey was eating his dinner. He heard the screams. He walked over, assuming it was a domestic dispute. "I'm Amanda Berry," she told him through the crack in the door. "I've been in here a long time." Ramsey, along with another neighbor, Angel Cordero, didn't hesitate. They kicked the bottom of the aluminum door in. Amanda crawled out through the jagged metal, clutching her 6-year-old daughter. She ran to a neighbor's house. She picked up the phone, and for the first time in 3,668 days, the world heard her voice.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance.
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
When the police arrived, they stormed the house. They rushed up the stairs, guns drawn, calling out. In the darkened hallway, a small figure emerged from the shadows. It was Michelle Knight. She threw herself into an officer's arms, weeping, "You saved us. You saved us." Moments later, Gina DeJesus was found in another room. The decade of darkness was finally over. Ariel Castro was arrested that same night. The evidence against him was overwhelming. He had kept diaries detailing his crimes, referring to himself as a predator. In August 2013, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years without the possibility of parole. The judge called his crimes a frightening and horrific path. But Castro would not face the long, agonizing decades of confinement he had forced upon his victims. Just 1 month into his sentence, he was found in his cell, not breathing. He had taken his own life. He chose the coward's way out, escaping the justice of time. Shortly after his conviction, the house at 2207 Seymour Avenue was torn down, erased from the earth. The demolition was a catharsis for the city, a necessary destruction of a monument to pain. But tearing down the wood and the drywall doesn't erase the terrifying questions left in the dust. How does a man keep 3 women in chains in a densely populated city for 10 years? How do we build neighborhoods where the screams of the dying and the desperate go unheard behind vinyl siding? The Cleveland kidnappings forced law enforcement to reckon with how they treat missing persons cases, especially for vulnerable adults like Michelle Knight, whose disappearance was tragically deprioritized. But the legacy of Seymour Avenue does not belong to Ariel Castro. It belongs to Michelle, Amanda, and Gina. When Amanda's mother died of a broken heart in 2006, she never knew her daughter was just miles away. But Amanda carried her mother's strength. Today, she advocates for missing persons. Gina DeJesus works to help families of the abducted. Michelle Knight, who changed her name to Lily Rose Lee, became a published author, an artist, and a fierce voice for the voiceless. They were dragged into the deepest hell a human being can endure, but they were not broken. They walked out of that house not as victims, but as survivors. They remind us that even in the longest, darkest nights, the human spirit is a profound and terrifying force, a force that eventually will break down the door and step back into the light.